In this DVD, you will be shown a turbo liner spray and bed liner application from start to finish. It is important to keep in mind that not everyone will do this process exactly the same way as shown in this video. There are many different techniques used in this process. Some techniques work better for one applicator than another. Please use this as a guideline to find the way that will work best for you as an applicator. This is Bo. He is masking this Dodge Ram truck for an over-rail bed liner. This is a very important step in the bed liner process. Good clean masking lines can make a liner look almost flawless. These lines will be the first thing that a customer sees when the truck is delivered to them. Once Bo has the base lines masked, he will start hand sanding the masked edges. These edges are extremely hard to get to with a sander, so hand sanding them is recommended. With a sandpaper in hand, Bo will sand all the painted surfaces around his masked edges. Although this looks like a tedious process, it is one of the most important parts of the bed liner process. Bo is using 80 grit sandpaper for this step. Notice the care Bo is taking to stay above his masked line. This is why an air sander is not used during this step. One slip with an air sander and the box side of the truck will need to be repaired. Notice here that Bo is just scuffing the surface. You can see this by looking at the areas he has just sanded. Notice the white appearance of the bed rail he is working on. When the bed liner is sprayed, you will have a mechanical, as well as a chemical bond, to the surface you are spraying. Now, Bo is removing all the screws from the tailgate cover plate, to remove it for spraying. An air orbital sander, also known as a DA sander, is used to sand the rest of the bed in preparation for the bed liner process. Bo starts at the tailgate and will work his way through the rest of the truck bed. Notice how he angles the sander so that he can sand the low spots in the tailgate. Once again notice that Bo is moving the DA sander fairly fast across the surface. It is not necessary to move slowly with a DA sander, this means you can cover a lot of surface in a lot less time. Once the floor area of the bed is sanded, Bo moves up to the top of the bed rails. Because he hand sanded the outer areas of the rails, all he has left is the top surface. This leaves very little risk of unnecessary paint damage. The bed side walls get the same sanding treatment, as you can see here. Bo is just using the DA sander to scuff the surface, this leaves a chalky white appearance. Once again notice the angle of the sander. Using the outer edge of the sander will help get into the curves and angles of the bed, for a more complete sanding process. Now Bo is sanding the low points of the bed ribs. Notice once again how he angles the sander to get into the low spots to complete sanding the bed floor. With the sanding process complete, he will now blow the bed out to remove any dust from the sanding process. Any sanding dust that is left behind will be wiped out with acetone, on a clean rag. Don't use old rags as they might have contaminants on them. We recommend using acetone because it doesn't leave a residue on the newly sanded surface. It will also remove any other contaminants, waxes or oils that may be present. We recommend when working with any chemicals like acetone to wear at least a half-face respirator with organic vapor cartridges. This will protect you from the potential harmful vapors from these chemicals. Notice some of the other protective gear that Bo is wearing. Along with his respirator, he is also wearing latex gloves as well as knee pads. Crawling around in the bed of a truck all day can be very hard on your knees, so knee pads are a very good investment. Earlier Bo removed the screws for the tailgate cover plate. It will now be removed. This panel should always be removed and sprayed separately so that if the latch assembly needs to be accessed, it can easily be removed. Next he will remove the tailgate. The tailgate will also be sprayed separately from the truck bed. He will be setting the tailgate on a set of sawhorses that have padding on them. The padding will help prevent the tailgate from getting scratched up while it is being prepped to be sprayed. Everyone has a little different routine for masking the bed of the truck. Here Bo is tearing off sheets of paper and placing them on the truck so that everything will be close at hand when he starts masking the bed. After you have been masking trucks for a while, you too will have a pattern or formula as to how you approach the masking process. Keep in mind the fewer pieces of masking paper you use, the less seams you will have. The better off you will be. Remember, when masking, if you don't cover it, you will be coating it. Cured polyurea is very difficult to remove, even from a clean unsanded surface. Here Bo is masking around the rear stake pocket area, and the area where the tailgate recess is located. This area is also a critical area. This is usually the second area the customer sees on an over-rail bed liner. It is usually one of the first things they see on an under-rail bed liner. This area needs to look clean and edges should be as straight and humanly possible. Notice the use of paper. He uses one long piece of paper for the entire upper side of the bed. This is a lot better than multiple pieces and means less seams in the paper and less chance of overspray getting through his masking job. He repeats the same process on the other side, mirroring so they look the same. Consistency is also a big deal when masking. This will all come with repetition. At this point he has only used 4 pieces of masking paper. 2 on the front of the bed and 2 on the upper box side. This is a great example of material usage efficiency. Bo is now tearing off masking paper for the tailgate opening. Notice again that he is using one piece of paper to cover the opening. He finishes off the rear of the bed with another long piece of paper that wraps around both sides of the bed as well. So far he has 6 long sheets of paper. Once again, fewer seams means less potential problems for overspray. Next he will mask the tailgate, so that the only surface exposed is the area that will be sprayed. It is very important not to leave any openings in the masking process, as the overspray might work into them and stick to the good painted surface. Notice how he attaches the paper to the upper and lower parts of the tailgate. This will enable him to fold both pieces to the outside of the tailgate. This also helps maximize his use of paper. You should always remember that there are different ways to mask off a truck. What works for one guy may not work for another. So you should always keep an open mind to suggestions. You never know, it just may save you some time. Now with the paper in place, all he has to do is stand the tailgate on end, and close up the outside area and seal it off from any overspray. Does make it look easy, but it does take practice. The tailgate latch mechanism will also be masked off to avoid material from getting on the latch or control rods. Bo is now applying the string line tape to the tailgate. He will leave an inch or so overlap off the surface. This piece will be used for cutting the material after the liner has been sprayed. The string line tape process is probably the most important part of the masking process. If your lines are clean and straight, you will have a nice looking bed liner. If they aren't straight, it will be noticeable in the finished product. You want to make sure that you lay the string line so that it is at the edge of your sanded surface. If you run the string line so that it is over an area that was sanded, you will see the sand marks when the string line is removed. Here Bo is leaving a long tail of string line so it'll be easy to find after it is sprayed. Here Bo is working on string lining the bed rail. It is very important to lay the string just over the edge of the masking tape. Once again, don't cover any sand marks with the string line. This is why it is so important for your masking tape to be straight on the bed side. If the masking tape is not straight, you will not get a perfectly straight line with your string line. On an over-rail bed liner, this is the first thing the customer will see. Every truck is a little different in the rear stake pocket area. Try to run the string line as smooth and clean as you can. This is not only an area of function but appearance as well. He has a very small loop where he turns the corner and goes across the back section of the bed. The smaller the loop, the better off you will be. Once again, he tries to mirror each side to look the same. It's details like this that make a good bed liner. One thing that is very important is making sure that the string line is tight against the surface, so there are no gaps that overspray can get into. This is what a finished masking job should look like. This is a nice clean masking job, no time or material waste. Even with filming this, Bo still only had about 20 minutes into the sanding and masking process. Here you will see the rack in the booth that the tailgate sits on to be sprayed. They are just two simple sawhorses with angled backboards on them to prop the tailgate up while it is being sprayed. In front of the tailgate you see the cover plate laying flat, also waiting to be sprayed. The plastic drop curtain is placed between the cab and bed of the truck. You will also see that plastic has been attached to the sides of the bed. This plastic goes all the way to the floor. Magnets help hold the plastic in place while spraying. Here is what the drop curtain looks like up close when in place. Here comes Bo. Notice his safety gear. He is wearing a full spray suit with a hood, a full-face fresh air mask, latex gloves. These items are a must when spraying polyurea. He is checking his pressures and doing a test spray. The machine must be on ratio in order to spray a good bed liner. Bo will start with spraying the tailgate and cover panel. It is important to get a uniform coating on all surfaces. This coat is smooth. He will come back and do the texture later. He starts at the top of the front bulkhead. This helps blend the seam between the bulkhead and the box side. Then he works his way to the far bed side, counting his passes so he can apply the bedliner evenly across the entire bed surface. He sprays across the bed floor just passes the center point, making even passes across the surface. Now he will spray the bed rail closest to him. Now moving to the back of the bed to catch the back corner of the bed rail. Now he moves to the opposite side of the bed and repeats this process for the other side, trying to keep it as consistent as he can. When spraying the bed surface, you want to be sure that you spray all rib surfaces from multiple angles to assure that you get a uniform coating. If an imperfection is seen during the spray process, it is best to take care of it right away. As seen here, it appears that something has happened to the surface during the spray process. Bo has caught this and is taking care of the problem. Here Bo is getting ready to place the turbo liner bed logo onto the side of the bed. Once the bed has been completely coated, he will look it over and start the texturing process. When texturing the bed surface, you are basically just spraying and letting the material fall onto the surface. Be sure to look for shiny spots. This is a good indication that the texture is light in this area. Once the bed has been textured, it is time to texture the tailgate and cover plate. With a quick check of the bed, and a little touch-up of the texture, the spray portion of our process is complete. Here it is. In just over 45 minutes, Bo sanded, masked and sprayed this bed liner. Once you have put the spray gun to rest, it is time to unmask the finished product. Remember the long tails of string line that Bo left attached to the truck and tailgate. Now he has started pulling the string line. Notice the angle he pulls the string line. He is pulling at approximately a 45-degree angle. This angle will give you the best cut edge, and help prevent a jagged line. We at Turbo Liner hope you have learned and enjoyed our bed liner application video. Please use it as a guide for future reference. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us at 1-877-678-8726.